Oh, here we go. There.
Hello.
All right, it looks like we are live here at Elliot Tower for the SPB Tailgate here. Welcome to the WXOU Tailgate Show, everybody. I'm Giovanni Mosher. This is Harja Buttar. We're your WXOU sports media directors here. I'm the sports media. You're the sports director. 1A to a 1B. We work together here at WXOU, and we're very happy to bring you the Tailgate Show, our first pregame show streamed live on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. If you're just finding us now, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out, and it keeps you up to date with all the sports content that we got here at WXOU. That's including interviews, that's including highlights, that's including full broadcasts and live streams just like these. So, we're going to give you, and we're going to kind of warm you guys up for the home opener of the Golden Grizzlies and the Bowling Green State Falcons. So, Harsh, what can you tell me just kind of at a quick glance, what are we going to be looking at for this matchup?
Well, it's a new look Oakland team. It's a new look Bowling Green team. So there's going to be a lot of newness here for both teams going into this game, Giovanni.
And I'm really excited to see because I was looking at the rosters because we know now in the age of NIL and now in the age of the transfer portal that teams are not similar at all from year to year. What about Bowling Green? What can you tell me about Bowling Green from last year down to this year?
Yeah, they lost Leon Ayers III and they lost Caden Metheny, two of their top scorers. They kept Rashawn Agee, who was one of their biggest guys on the field, on the court, and they brought over a lot of transfers due to their new coach, Todd Simon from Southern Utah.
That's
Three
right.
new transfers from the Thunderbirds who are going to make an immediate impact, have knowledge of Simon's system, and be sure to, perpetuate whatever Bowling Green has to do on the court.
And we saw that not only is the head coach from Southern Utah, but we got a 7-footer from Southern Utah that transferred over to Bowling Green to follow his head coach.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely going to be something against the Golden Grizzlies, who typically struggle a little bit in the rebounding, struggle a little bit in the size. It has been improved this year, but that's 7 feet, Harj. That's what it's going to be.
No matter what Oakland rolls out, Greg Spurgeon's going to be the tallest guy on the court. He's going to get a lot of starting minutes just because of his size. He's got a little bit of a beefier structure.
Of course.
He went 1 for 5 against Chicago State, but he went 4 for 9 against Arkansas State. So really, he's looking to continue to build on his previous performances. And if all is telling, he might have a good one here tonight.
It's looking to be a good matchup for him. But what about the rest of the Bowling Green State Falcons? We saw that not only, and you mentioned some of the starters that have left now, but the Bowling Green State Falcons are bringing back 4 guys from last year's team. That's it.
Yeah.
They have 10 new players on that team, new head coach, new everything. And we can't undersell how different that's going to be. I even asked Coach Campy at the Campy radio show yesterday, how much of last year's game could you take and learn from coming into this game? And he basically said nothing. There's nothing similar about these two teams on both sides, Oakland and Bowling Green.
Really, all you have to look at is the 2 games that the Falcons have played so far as film goes. Unlike Oakland, Bowling Green isn't, like you said, they're not going to return a lot of their starters, so it's going to be difficult for Oakland to kind of get momentum moving initially. But the way that Oakland has played in their first 2 games against Big Ten opponents, I think they're going to have their hands full, but I think they're going to be able to overcome.
And for those of you watching and tuning in, thank you very much for joining us on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. Be sure to light up that chat right there. We're going to be reading some of the comments there, of course, if they are on-air approved. Okay, we're not going to be, slinging slander around here, but be sure to light up that chat. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. WXOU on Instagram is at WXOU Radio. You gotta make sure the radio's in there. And you can find us on Twitter at simply WXOU. Stay tuned with all the goodness that we have for WXOU. In addition to the sports, we got music, we got news, we got everything you need. So be sure to keep up to date on all things WXOU. So Harj, I want to take a look at Oakland now. You know, this team, we have 8 new players, which still seems like a lot, but they're returning a lot of their guys, especially veterans like Trey Townsend and Blake Lemon, who are going to be huge pieces in leading the new guys. So what can you tell me about now this year's team that we're going to be looking at going forward for the Golden Grizzlies?
Well, I think as far as the starters go, you're not going to have a lot of turnover. You did lose Jalen Moore, you did lose Keaton Hervey, but you are going to return 3 of your starting 5.
That's right.
And so I think majority of the replacements for Moore and Hervey are going to be people who have been in Oakland system for a while. Chris Conway, Osei Price. You're going to see a lot of action from those guys over the course of the season. But I think what's really striking this year as compared to last year was how much depth Oakland has beyond their starting 5 and how many different looks they can give their opponents. And when Campy has this level of depth in his team, you see a lot of success coming out. The year before they had Kendrick Nunn was the last year they won the Horizon League championship. Was because they ran 11 deep. So if you take a look at it, it seems like they have a winning formula going forward for Oakland. And a lot of these guys are young. They're, juniors, and they have a lot of impact sophomores and freshmen. So this is something you can perpetuate. It's not something you're going to have to start rebuilding over and over again.
Exactly. And especially, and we heard Campy say this not only in some post-game press conferences, but, even in the Horizon League kind of preseason stuff, he was talking about that nowadays you have to get old and stay old in order to compete, to be competitive in college basketball nowadays, because you have the option to get that. You go and get some of the older, more experienced guys. It's not as beneficial to you to kind of take them as a freshman, develop them over some years, because you could get them ready to go right out of the box in this new age. And that's kind of something that he focused on in the offseason, is to get old and stay old.
Well, one of the things I think for a mid-major program like Oakland is you can offer guys from junior colleges starting opportunities and a lot of minutes early. When you look at programs in the Quad 1, Kentucky, Michigan State, a lot of them do play their freshmen, and specifically for Calipari's Kentucky program, you do have a lot of one-and-done guys, and you do play a lot of freshmen, and then they go on to play in the NBA when they're 19 years old. So I think for Oakland, having guys who have had experience playing college basketball at any level is beneficial to how quickly they can have their young players, Xavier Banks, Michael Rogers, adapt to the new program, and then they take over as the upperclassmen, as the leading gentry, as our friend Zach Simon likes to call them.
There we go. And be sure to stay tuned to 6 o'clock here on the WXOU Tailgate Show, as we're going to have a very special guest coming on to the show. It's the one and only voice of the arena since 2005, Kevin Beers, is going to join us on the show to kind of give his thoughts and just kind of give us a little bit of a view from his side on the sideline doing the PA announcing. So be sure to stay tuned at 6 o'clock. We are scheduled to have him on the show, so be sure to stick around. And now moving on, so talking, or I guess continuing what we're talking about, all those young guys, you mentioned Xavier Banks, you mentioned Michael Rogers, those guys, and especially in Campy's system, are going to take a little bit of time to get used to the zone that Campy admits that it's complicated at times and hard for new guys to learn. But the veterans we were talking about before, Blake Lamon and Trey Townsend, they know the system. They've been there for 4 years. Blake's now going into his 5th year. Those guys are crucial pieces to kind of teaching them that zone defense and kind of teaching them that system that Campy has been running for so long and has had great success with.
Well, exactly. I mean, you take a look at what they did against Ohio State. They ran a lot of plays in transition offensively, and the zone that Campy has implemented is designed to take away some of that. And you saw how staunch that defense was early on in the game before, unfortunately, Oakland got into foul trouble and lost some of their big men.
They lost them pretty quick.
They lost them quick, but it was interesting to see how they adapted. I think they went to a little more of the foul game, trying to prevent Ohio State from getting easy buckets. Because obviously, when you go into a shell without your 2 guys who are big men, Chris Conway and Andre Polk, you have to play conservative in the middle. You have to, kind of make sure that the paint isn't getting completely wrecked, as it were. And that's a tough ask of guys who are, not acclimating to a zone as quickly as they, as Coach Campy would like them to.
And we want to give a shout out to the chat thread. Camille Bull says, I am the Joe Mo Show's #1 fan. And that is quoting a friend of hers, Jenna. So thank you very much. As we do at the Joe Mo Show here as part of our sports content, we also have Detroit Rand Radio hosted by our very own Harja Butar. That is Thursdays at 5 o'clock, while the Joe Mo Show is Thursdays at 6 o'clock. So you got about 2 hours of WXOU sports goodness on 88.3 FM, or you can stream it on WXOU.org. That's usually the better place to find most of our shows. The FM signal is a little bit spotty, wonky, spotty, inconsistent, all the adjectives for it. So WXOU.org is the place to stream all of your WXOU content, and as well as the basketball game that we're previewing right now. 7 o'clock is tip-off. We got me doing play-by-play, and we got a debut of one of our new broadcasters, Justin Shepard. He brings a little bit of basketball experience with him for the color commentary. We're really excited to see what he's got in store. So be sure to stay tuned here, of course, on YouTube, but then go over to WXOU.org to check out the basketball game. Free to stream.
Free to stream.
Free to stream. On the TuneIn Radio app as well. So we're going to take a quick break here on the WXOU Tailgate Show here. We'll be back real quick and talk to you guys about some of the new Golden Grizzlies on the team. We've been talking about some of the veterans, but we'll give you some info. We'll give you a little heads up on what some of the new Golden Grizzlies are going to be doing on the court today. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody, to the WXOU Tailgate Show on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. I'm Geronimo Sherry. He's Harja Butar here for WXOU Sports. We're going to be talking about now some of the new Golden Grizzlies. Like we mentioned before, the Golden Grizzlies have added about 8 new players to their squad. And, of course, that's a little bit more typical for the transfer portal age. But, Harj, kind of tell me about what are some of the stars and the new additions to the Golden Grizzlies that we're going to be seeing on the blacktop?
Well, I think you have to do your due diligence by saying what is needing to be replaced in this Oakland lineup from last year. Obviously, the biggest hole is Jalen Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Having a point guard who is that prolific at manipulating a defense and at, controlling an offense's pace is really, really hard to find. And where Greg Campy and Jeff Smith looked in only Indiana to find Jalen Moore is lightning in a bottle. But they're looking to get different looks from some of their returners. Rocket Watts is playing the true point guard right now, and they're looking to get some of that three-pointing, that's the hole in the three-point game that Jalen Moore left behind. And then that enters our first new Golden Grizzly, Jack Golke.
Jack Golke, my man. He's been tearing it up in not only the exhibition games, but in the first 2 games too against Ohio State and Illinois. He's proving to be a formidable force from beyond the arc.
Well, I think when your first 2 games are Ohio State and Illinois, I think anyone who plays for a mid-major would consider that daunting. Not Jack Golke.
Oh no.
He goes out there, puts on his work shoes, and just goes to town on 2 of the best teams in the country, relatively speaking.
Yeah, we're talking relative here.
We're talking relatively here. He needs to work a little bit better when the other team is running in transition, just working on a little bit of that defense. But that comes with being a shooting guard, being in that offensive scheme that Campy has implemented. But if we can get a 3-point shooter here, which we haven't had since, I would say, Kendrick Nunn left, that's a huge gap that is filled in this Oakland offense that will just add another element to how prolific Oakland can be when they have the basketball.
That's right. And on the Greg Campy show yesterday, I was there and talking. And in addition to some of that, and also the Ohio State post-game press conference, Campy was talking about how that 3-point shooting. The Ohio State reporters were talking to him about, is this 3-point shooting, sustainable? Is this, how can you guys keep up that kind of good 3-point shooting? Because Jack Golke in that game had 6 made 3-pointers. I think he was 6 of 18, so a clean 33%. And the reporters were asking him, like, is this sustainable? Like, how do you, and is this something you guys can rely on? And Campy said, you don't know much about Oakland, do you? That's what Oakland has done throughout his history, throughout Campy's tenure, now into his 40th season. His saying, what he does is he lives by the 3 and he dies by the 3. They've led the country in 3-point shots made and taken different times throughout history here. That's what Oakland basketball does. It is the 3-point shot. And just because we didn't see it a lot last year does not mean that that's the general identity of this team. Now with Jack Golke and some of the other new additions too, DQ Cole, I would mention, in a 3-point shooting as well. That's what Oakland is. We're seeing a return to form for Oakland basketball behind the arc. That's what we're seeing here.
Well, exactly. And I think for Greg Campy, it's going to have to be a self-reflective moment because, Trey Calvin was voted by the Horizon League as the preseason Horizon League Player of the Year, but not far behind him was Trey Townsend.
That's right.
So now you have a big man who is a prospective Player of the Year, a prospective dominant Horizon League opponent for any team in this conference. I think if you live and die by the 3, you kind of take away from what Townsend can provide because obviously shooting from beyond the arc is not a huge part of his game.
Right.
So by living and dying by the 3, by centering your offense in getting high risk, high reward points, do you take away from what is arguably the best player in your conference and without a doubt the best player on your team?
And what a great compliment to that 3-point shooting is to have somebody preseason first team All Horizon League, last year's second team All Horizon League, although he felt he should have been, in the first team. But what a great compliment to that 3-point shooting that you can have Golke lighting it up from 3. And then as soon as you start to double him, guess who's open over in the paint? It's Trey Townsend, or it's, let me try and say this, Taburu Navalurua.
There you go.
One of the new additions to the Golden Grizzlies. What can you tell me about Baru, who we're going to call, or who we're going to refer to him in short tense here? Talk to me about Baru.
Well, it's actually indicative of what did Greg Campy do in this offseason? What kind of players did he bring in? Because if we're saying he lived and died by the 3, he did bring in Tone Hunter. He brought in Jack Golke. He brought in DQ Cole. But then you want to see, like, okay, they also had a rebounding issue last year. They had a massive rebounding issue. They were one of the worst teams statistically in the Horizon League for offensive and defensive rebounds. So what do? You go out and bring a 6'11" stud from Australia, from Down Under, and a man who we've been talking about at the break broke the vertical record.
That's
so
right.
We have no idea how high he can jump, and that's a huge component to his game.
It is.
I think that this is a game where he's going to need to find his sea legs. Throwing him in against Illinois was just to get him experience on a court.
They gave him about like 12 minutes.
Yeah, and to get experience against a top 50 team, that should boost your confidence. And the way he played in your first game and as in Division I basketball against a Big Ten opponent, the sky is the limit for him. Literally and figuratively.
Just about literally. And let there be light here at the tailgate here. The sun set at Oakland University a little bit earlier than we expected here. And thank you to our general manager of WXOU, Logan Pizzaro, for providing the facilities here and to actually let you guys see us in our beautiful suits here. So thank you very much, Logan. And yeah, he jumped higher than the highest measurement when they were trying to measure his height. So, like you mentioned before, sky's the limit. And
exactly.
We were talking about on the Greg Campy show, a new assistant coach from Garden City, Bobby Naubert, he was mentioning how in warm-ups, Baru, he is slamming that thing. And you can just tell that there's a little bit more of more strength, more aggressiveness with a big body like that with such a high vertical. So expect to see him, if he's got a little more of his sea legs underneath him, then expect to see some lobs to him. Expect to see him in the paint and throwing it down in front of the Grizz gang or in front of the opponent's bench.
Well, let's take a look at that because you brought up an interesting point now. The Garden City pipeline that has opened up.
That's right. I'm good at segues here.
You're good at segues,
I'm a
Joe.
lead pipe wielding professional over here at WXOU.
But this has now become an interesting thing because you have Baru, you have Tone Hunter, and you have Andre Polk, who all came from the same community college, and then you bring in Coach Bobby Naubert, who came from Garden City. This is now an interesting thing. Has Oakland built their JUCO pipeline? Because now what this provides you is, okay, you have a pipeline of people who can come from a top junior college in America to play for your program. And to find a feeding ground as a mid-major program should boost your confidence thousandfold.
And especially like we keep talking about it, and even like all the coaches in college basketball do keep talking about for a reason, is a transfer portal, is NIL, and the fluidity of the rosters throughout college basketball to have an established relationship with a university or with a JUCO to have kind of like a more steady, more reliable supply of players. I hate to make them sound like cattle, but
Yeah.
but that's an important thing to establish when you're trying to grow your roots here in this new age of college basketball. So, in seeing what we've seen so far from those new players, big contributors, that's going to be huge going forward for the Golden Grizzlies for years to come.
Absolutely. And you've seen the way the transfer portal has kind of materialized itself with bigger teams going after, good players from small teams and poaching them. And sometimes you do see some of the opposite where Justice Williams from Robert Morris was taken from LSU. Rocket Watts was taken from Mississippi State, brought here to Oakland.
That's right.
But I think for those mid-major programs who are now looking to build their pipelines and don't want to get their freshman action right away, junior college is the way to go.
It's a great way to kind of get that, to kind of get that tape. And especially if you are that big of a talent and you can kind of establish yourself in a little bit more of a lower level of basketball, you are going to stand out.
Absolutely.
And I even, on the JOMO show, I had an interview over the summer with this is a different sport, obviously, but I talked to Christian Stelling, who was a previous pitcher for Oakland University and then Eastside Diamond Hopper with the USPBL. He was talking, he came from JUCO, and he was talking about how it's a little, pitching there is a little bit different. He said that guys are going to be swinging a lot more, and it's a lot more individually focused because they want to get their own spotlight. And I'm sure that translates to all the sports there, where if you're playing a JUCO, you're playing there because you want to be taken out and you want to be noticed by some of the Division I and some of the higher ups in college basketball. So that it does seem to be the way to go. And with Garden City, we got a good spot.
Yeah, and well, now let's bring it back to Bowling Green and what they've built with Southern Utah and the program that Todd Simon came from and how he's trying to build Bowling Green's pipeline. They brought in 3 new players from one specific university. And I think it's going to serve them well because 2 of those 3 guys are already starters.
Already starters and familiar with the coach's scheme,
Exactly.
I'm sure. Yeah, you got to imagine that he's transferred a little bit of his JUCO experience over to Bowling Green. So their familiarity with the players and their strengths and their weaknesses, that's a huge thing when you're starting to build a new program because it's college. The head coach is the head honcho, is the big boss that is in control of everything. So you got to establish those deep roots to be able to kind of establish yourself in that way. So you kind of get a head start when you're bringing in some familiar players to your program.
Sure. Yeah, there's not much more to say on that.
We've drained the well on that topic. So we're going to take a break here on WXOU Sports, and be sure to stay tuned to 6 o'clock. We're going to have Kevin Beers, voice of the arena since 2005. He even had a season as the PA announcer for the Detroit Shock over in the Palace of Auburn Hills back in the day. I think that was the 2009 season. But we're going to have him on the show, get his thoughts. And, for you guys that are listening here, don't forget to stay tuned and go to WXOU.org to go to the TuneIn Radio app. We're going to have the game at 7 p.m. for the Golden Grizzlies against the Bowling Green Falcons. We'll be right back for the live stream for the Tailgate show of WXOU Sports. Back up. Welcome back, everybody, to the WXOU Tailgate Show on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe for all your WXOU sports content, interviews, highlights, and full broadcasts, as well as live streams like these. And as you can see, we got an extra member here at the live stream. We have the voice of the arena since 2005 and even a season at the Palace of Auburn Hills. The one and only Kevin Beers is joining us on the show. Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, Joe. How you doing?
Fantastic. So, kind of give us your quick thoughts of like right away. You know, you're about to paint the picture for all those in the arena of the Golden Grizzlies and the Falcons. What are your thoughts going into the game? Kind of your initial thoughts.
So, you know, there's always kind of a dichotomy, especially in these early games. Like this is the first home game, so there's a newness to this, and there's that energy of, oh wow, this is so cool. Let's go. You know, and it's the entertainment value, right?
Yeah.
Between the lines on the blacktop itself, it's going to be just an absolute battle because both these teams are pretty darn good. I mean, Oakland, you know, we saw what Oakland did in the Big Ten, right? I mean,
yeah.
Their early Big Ten tour was successful. We didn't get a dub, but, you know, it was pretty darn good. And so this team is going to be able to do some things. And Bowling Green is good. I mean, this is a good team. We have battled like crazy, these two teams, for about the last 3 years or so.
Yeah.
And, you know, tonight probably will be no different. I haven't checked the spread or anything, but I would imagine that we expect another close game. So that's what I mean by the dichotomy. You know, there's the entertainment and the draw, like, yeah, all right, cool, basketball's starting again. And then once you get in there, it's going to be intense. The band will be back in the arena and everything.
I can't wait for the band, man.
Oh my God! You know, they complete the show. By the way, I don't want to derail this at all, but
of course
those guys complete the show in the arena.
Huge component of this of the whole experience, and I think they add a certain element to it that you can't really get from any other sporting event, like professional or anything. And I mean, when they're winning and when everyone's excited, they just add another layer on top of that and blow the roof off every single game.
I think that's their goal. Blow the roof off. I believe if they were to list like their top 5 goals for every game, that's probably in there. Every single game. Yeah. So it's gonna be great. And as far as matchups go, you know, the two teams that Oakland played out of the Big Ten are big and fast and strong, and it didn't matter. I mean, we played with it. We could have beaten Ohio State.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was a legit. I went down to that game, and that was legitimately, we had a chance to win that game. The Illinois game, we took right down to the last, 6-7 minutes of that game before we stopped scoring. And they, you know, were able to put some baskets in to pull away a little bit, but nothing close to the spread. I mean, the spread was like 29 for that game.
Oh,
or
my.
something like that, right? And so, I mean, that's great. And I know coaches hate moral victories.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have to. I swear to you, I felt walking away from that game at Ohio State, I felt like we won the darn game.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
It was so cool.
Yeah, I was listening to it on the radio and kind of like I was on pins and needles. I was alone in my room, but like I was screaming in my head just because it was so close. And something that can't be mentioned on the Campy Radio Show was that fight that they showed at the end. You know, they led for most of the game and then were starting to give it up. They got it back to a close, winnable situation. And can't be said that is what his championship teams have done. They didn't fall back and they didn't, moan and groan when the game was almost wrapped up. They kept fighting. So if that's any indication for this team, I like the way it sounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And, historically, give Campy a team that can shoot the three and make a lot of them and rebound, and they're going to win a lot of games. So if you're not here yet and you're on the fence about coming out tonight, get out here. We need you out here in the stands.
Definitely. And it's an exciting atmosphere, like we mentioned. The band's there. He's there. He's the guy. He voices. He paints a picture for you guys in the arena. So, yes, definitely, if you're not, if you're thinking about it, get over here. But if you're not, if you're away, you're at home, we got it for you on WXOU for free to stream.
Yeah, and you can do it in the arena. I mean, you can have your whatever.
Yeah, double cast.
They're not
Go for
headphones
it.
anymore, right? We don't call them headphones anymore.
AirPods.
There we go. All right, yeah. Put that
AirPods.
stuff in your ear and listen to these guys and watch that game. You'll be very happy. If you haven't been to a game, this would be a great start. And I promise you, you'll come back, especially if Oakland wins and happens to score 80 points or more, because it's buddies.
Yeah, baby. All right. So let's talk about a little bit more into detail with the matchup here. So Bowling Green, they're coming in undefeated. They played Chicago State and they played Arkansas State. Oakland, they're coming winless right now against those Ohio State and Illinois, like we mentioned before.
Sure.
So kind of about the matchups, the one-on-one. We're going to see 3-point shooting from Jack Golke, a little bit from DQ Cole as well. Blake Lampman not going to be in the game. He suffered an injury recently, and it's not going to. Rocket Watts is going to get the start. Osei Price is going to be on the floor some more. So kind of help me out, Harj and Kevin. Well, what are we going to see? Kind of the matchups between the two teams.
Well, I think one team came into this game with a cupcake schedule, Bowling Green, and I think one team came into this game with a schedule that shows really who you are and the identity of your team. And I think when you are battle tested the way Oakland is, you have developed those calluses mentally, physically, that just put you over the edge over opponents like Bowling Green. Because this is mid-major versus mid-major. This is, two teams that have gone at it, like Mr. Burrs was saying, for years. And now I think when you think about the schedule that Oakland has, they have a psychological edge almost that, we've played against Ohio State. They've gone to national championships. We've played against Illinois. They've gone to national championships. Now we're going against Bowling Green. Obviously, you don't want to have that mental fog of like, they're Bowling Green. Every opponent is the same. They're just the opponent you're facing on the court at that moment, and you take advantage of them.
You got to think of it as just another 5 guys on the court, on your court, on the blacktop, in the arena. You know all the wonderful details there.
Absolutely, and I love the way you put it about having the experience and sharpening the steel, right? I mean, that's what we've been doing, right? In those 2 hard games. Greg Kampe, in his 40th year, is an absolute master of helping his players use that to their advantage, right? It's not always immediate, but, at some point during the season, all of that pays off.
For sure.
And he helps them realize those lessons.
Definitely, and that's been his scheduling strategy, is to have those tougher games out of conference, to get them ready for the Horizon League games. That's all that matters. That in terms of what I see from Kampe, he's always talking about the conference, the league, the Detroit game, all those things that are in the Horizon League is what he's looking at. Of course, you want to get those big wins out of conference. They came close all those years ago against #1 Michigan State, and they've won many of these Power 5 matchups. But to get that edge, to iron sharpening iron, that's very important, and that has been proven to work in Kampe's 40 years here at Oakland University and the great success that he's had for the program.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there.
That's a great setup, dude. Let's play.
I can't wait, and I hope you guys tune into the WXOU cast of the Golden Grizzlies against the Bowling Green Falcons at 7 o'clock. That's when tip-off's going to be. It's going to be me. It's going to be Justin Shepard on the call. So be sure to download the TuneIn Radio app to find it on WXOU.org. Any way you can stream it for free, or another way, if you're a student, you can also get it for free with your own eyes, with your own ears, and see it for yourself on the blacktop in the arena. And better get there soon. Seats are going to be filling up pretty quickly here. We got about, we got a little less than an hour before game time here. I'm excited for it. I hope everybody else is as well. We're going to take a short break here on the live stream here. Stay tuned, and we'll we'll land the plane here and get you guys ready for game time on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. Welcome back, everybody, to the WXOU Sports Tailgate Show here outside of Elliot Tower. It's very dark, it's very cold, but we're here. It's perfect tailgate weather here to get you guys warmed up for the matchup of the Golden Grizzlies and the Bowling Green Falcons for the home arena opener.
Might need some of that warming up there, Joe.
I can't wait to get inside.
Oh, it's so cold right now.
And for those of you wondering who's the third guy here, we just got done talking to Kevin Beers here. Here is our general manager of WXOU, Logan Pizzurro.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, welcome to the show here. So, kind of talk to us. We know you focus a little bit more outside of the sports world, and you had a big hand in kind of setting this up, not only this stream, but the DJing that we got going on in the background. So,
Yeah.
what is WXOU?
What isn't WXOU?
That's the better answer.
question. TV. That's what we're not.
We're-
No, we do all sorts of stuff from podcasting to live on-air shows to like audio producing. We do our own concerts sometimes, event planning, sports. We do it all. We do it all.
Yeah, so about what you guys do for DJing. I'd like to know just real quick about some of the details of DJing. I know a lot of people like to play music for other people. So, like, what kind of opportunities would there be for someone wanting to DJ for WXOU for an event like we're hearing our wonderful one of our other staff members, Andrew, doing behind us?
Yeah, I mean, if no one complains when you get past the aux, then you can definitely DJ for us. Yeah, it's all, whenever there's a event on campus, usually SPB or someone will come by and be like, hey, we need a DJ, and it happens pretty often. So we need DJs. So if you like music, you like playing music for others, you want to try out DJing, mixing some stuff up, you can definitely do it. We have some nice professional-ish equipment for you guys to use.
We got top-notch stuff here.
It works. So, what can you tell us, Logan? I know you're not a huge sports guy, but like, what is your overall general feeling of this team right now?
Of this team, well, I will tell you, as an Ohio State fan, seeing them almost beat Ohio State was definitely surprising. But I don't know. Maybe that just means Ohio State is bad. I don't actually know. But
Yes.
We need to rely on something to console ourselves. Yes, Ohio State is bad.
They're terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember at the club football game that we had. I believe that was early in September against Ohio State's club team.
Yep.
You showed up, and you just happened to be wearing 3 layers of Ohio State gear, and I vomited over
not
the
3
table.
layers. I came in wearing an Oakland University hoodie, and
But underneath,
but in a bag. I was prepared to switch over if need be.
this is our general manager, ladies and gentlemen. He is an Ohio State fan.
he is.
I mean, people that are Michigan State fans right now can't say anything in general, but
There we go.
So,
we'll see what happens. It's good.
I don't want to toot our own horn here, but what do you think having a diversity of the radio station brings? Because I know coming out of COVID, we were initially very music centric. We were initially very radio-centric. What do you think diversity of the offerings that a radio station brings to the community, brings to the university, brings to its environment?
I mean, it really just shows that like you can actually do anything at the station, and like I feel like a lot of people that say, "Hey, you can do anything here," don't actually mean it. But here we really mean it because there's like we do camera stuff like we're doing right now. We do we record our undergrounds, our concert series. We have a concert series that we film in the radio station, which
It's
takes a lot of producing.
It's like a concert in the basement.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Oh, and it's really well produced and it's really well done. every single time.
YouTube.com/@WXOU. But
That's a parent channel. We're the
And-
sports channel, of course.
and
Hey, where's this off?
there's of course video editing, audio producing, just like live mixing, sound engineering, trying to figure out which microphones are good for what, and all that stuff. So there really is just like everything you can do there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And even like when you're talking about, on the radio or a podcast, even that it's like free range. Like we have, sports, we have usually a lot of the on-air programs are music, and then there's like some talk shows as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah, well, we thank you very much for joining us, General
no
Manager
problem.
Logan Pizzurro.
Go to the game tonight, Logan?
I will be. I'll be there.
You're cheering on the Grizzlies this time?
This time, yeah, we'll see. No, yeah, I will.
For our team is what we do here at WXOU, at least as a fan.
All right.
Thank you
no problem.
for
Have a
joining
good one,
us.
guys.
All right, now let's get back to the sports here. Let's get back. That is feedback. We're
Very
gonna get that mic off. Back up, Harsh. All right, so now let's get back to the sports here. Let's land the plane here.
Let's
Harsh.
land the plane.
We talked a lot about the Golden Grizzlies, what they're going to bring to the blacktop, but what's Bowling Green going to be bringing to the blacktop? What are we expecting from the Falcons?
Well, literally speaking, they're going to be bringing a basketball team.
Yay!
But I think they're going to be bringing a different team than they were going to be bringing last time. Last time they were very three-point centric. Now I think that you have Dejan Robinson, who is a very prolific three-point shooter. They're going to be getting most of their points off of free throws, Giovanni, and that's because that was a problem for Oakland in the first two games, which was preventing teams from going to the free throw line, and that's how Illinois got their few points in chunks at the end of the game. That's Ohio State kind of pulled the game away. So it's going to come down to how clean can Oakland play it while still playing consistently good defense. How good can Oakland be at the free throw line, because we saw how good they were last year at the charity stripe, but it seems like they've kind of come up to a little bit of a slower start this year than they did last year. So it's going to be interesting to see the dichotomy between, can they switch it on for this game, and then can they switch off Bowling Green's, attempts at the free throw line? Can the O's go crazy in the student section? Can the O's stay up for Oakland? And can we kind of come back to our identity of being a good free throw shooting team? And you've heard Greg Campy mumble, everyone makes their free throws against us. Can Oakland turn that off? Can Oakland turn off what is one of the best one of the best free throw shooters in the MAC, and probably one of the best mid-major three-point shooters in the U.S.?
And it's going to be a big challenge, because we saw, like you mentioned, Oakland kind of slow out of the gates when it comes to the fouls. We saw against Ohio State, some of our big guys, or both our big guys, Chris Conway and Andre Polk, fouled out by the end of the game. They both, Dre Polk made it a quick trip. He got his 5 fouls pretty quick. So we're going to have to see them kind of clean up the technique to not give them those 3 points or those free points, but also not take themselves out of the game. So that's going to be important.
Yeah. Well, now let's get to the predictions, Joe.
Let's get to it.
Who do you think is going to win this game?
I got Oakland University in this one. I think Baru is going to make a huge impact on this. I think Golke is going to continue that three-point shooting, because he's shown no sign of stopping so far. And I think Trey is going to get his work in the middle. They might focus some of the defense on him, but that's going to open up the rest of the Golden Grizzlies. Give me the Oakland.
Well, I think that the way that Bowling Green is going to try to focus their defense is try to take out Trey Townsend as much as possible and force Oakland to shoot the three. Rocket Watts, Jack Golke, Tone Hunter. But I think the way that Oakland has performed in the first two games, and the way that they're continuing to build on every single performance this year, is nothing short of uplifting and overwhelming support for this team. Give me Oakland.
That's right, baby. That's WXOU Sports. That has been the Tailgate Show. We thank everybody for tuning in and listening. Hopefully we get to do more of these throughout the year. So be sure to subscribe to WXOU Sports on YouTube right down here to be sure that you don't miss anything. Make sure you don't miss some of our interviews and some of our highlights and some of our broadcasts that we're going to be having on air and then posting later to YouTube. So be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned with all that, and go Golden Grizzlies.
Go Grizzlies.
7 o'clock is tip-off, so be sure to tune in as well.